All right, this is my screen. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this week. We're going to go over, my name is Tony Manor. I am a previous graduate from Construct Academy, current employee with the San Joaquin County Office of Education Code Stack Division. Today we're going to go over Construct3, what it is, and how to make a game that you can show your friends and impress folks at parties and things of that nature. The first thing we want to do is, if you go to the meetup invite, we included a link that goes to the GitHub repository for the asset pack. Now, the assets for these types of games are all the little graphics and animations and things of that nature. When you click on it, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And in here, this is the one that we will be downloading, the zip file. If you click on it, you should see a button right here that says download. And I want to make sure that everybody's seeing this. We're having some folks that had an issue downloading it before, or an issue finding the file. Is everybody able to get that going?
Is that the screen that that the link goes to?
Yeah, from here, from this GitHub repository, or this link under system requirements, it should take you to this, should take you to this page.
Okay, and then from there?
From here, we click on this link, and then it should show you the download button here on the right-hand side.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Was everybody able to get that? I just want to make sure I don't want to leave anyone behind.
Yeah, I got it now.
Perfect. Okay, so once we get it, it should default into your downloads directory. Want to right-click on it, extract, and extract all those files. Now, once we have that folder open, these are our assets, and I would just drag them right here to the desktop. And I already have it downloaded, so it should be a fresh download for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and replace it anyway. And I'm putting it here on my desktop just so that it's easier to kind of get to and jump around versus going back to the download directory every single time. Okay. If everybody has those files going and we're downloaded and everybody's ready to go, we're going to start a new project. But just to give you an idea of what Construct is, Construct3 is the third iteration of the Construct editor. Construct is a gaming engine. So there's a lot of tools that are built into this. And while it seems very simple, some of the games that have been created that you can find in the arcade when you go to the front of the site are pretty sophisticated. People have completely remade games, just like Mario Brothers actually made a duplicate of the Mario Brother games. People that have created top-down side scrollers, combat games like the old karate games with the two people are fighting each other. It pretty much, I haven't seen too much other than maybe some high-end 3D environments that couldn't be created using Construct. So what we're going to do today is we are going to make this game right here. I included a link just to give you guys an idea of what the finished product will look like. It's very simple, but what's important here is we're going to go through all the different tools that were used to make this, all the various sorry about that. So the audio is super loud in my ears. I don't know if it blasted you guys out too much, but so what it is inside the game, we're going to talk about things like sprites. We're going to talk things about collision detection, keeping score, moving your character around the screen, and all those things that are relevant when you're trying to create a game. So the first thing we got to do is we click on New Project, And the project that we're going to create is going to have a 4:3 aspect ratio. That means it is 4 units long, 3 units tall. 640 by 480 is typically, I would say those were screen resolutions when I first got into web design. But I would prefer to do 900 wide by 600 tall. And that way we get a little bit more space to play around in. We're keeping it in landscape. These are the only changes we want to make, except for maybe name it. So I'm going to call this one Space Demo. And then we click Create. So it brings you into our world. Now, inside of the editor here, this dotted line represents everything that would be in screen. So if you see down here where the mouse coordinates are, tells you 900 by 600. So all the way up, it's 900 by 0, and then all the way across. Those are your 900 pixels wide, 600 pixels tall. On the left-hand side here, we have all of our properties, and we use this constantly. So this is really going to be our playground where we set up all of our attributes and the way the different elements behave and move around the screen. Over here on the right-hand side, the game that we're going to create exists in one layout with one event sheet. But once you start getting into games that have multiple layouts, you have multiple levels, things like that, this area over here becomes super important because you're going to have to start organizing your event sheets and your layouts and grouping together your assets that are only relevant to individual sheets. But for what we're doing today, this will be very easy to follow along with. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to bring in our hero. And our hero, this is all I did was I double-clicked on the main screen here, and that brings up this window, the Create New Object Type. And the new object type that we're going to create is a sprite. Now, a sprite is an old term. It's been around since almost the beginning. All games have something that would be considered a sprite. Once you click on that, you get your little crosshairs, and this is just letting you know where you want to place it. So we're going to add in our sprite by clicking on the screen. Right here is your editor. Going to your construct, and I know you guys are having to flip between screens to follow along, so I'm going to try and go slowly and maybe fill in some space by talking so that you can jump back and forth and hang in there. We're going to bring in our ships all GIF. Now, in here are a lot of different ships. So you pick the one that you like the best that you want to stick with, and we're going to erase the rest of them. Your eraser tool is this one right here. Let's say I'm going to keep this guy, and I'm going to erase the rest of them. Okay. Get rid of everything else. And the reason why I did that, I could have just dropped in a spaceship graphic. But the reality is when you go out, there's a lot of places where you can get free sprites or free graphics. In fact, that's all you would have to search for on Google is free sprites, game graphics, things of that nature. And you get access to a lot of them. There's some really nice ones that you can pay for that have lots of animations. Your ship, you could get ones that have the little jets are glowing, or there's elements around it that are moving around. But once you select your ship and you've deleted or erased everything else, this item up here is your crop tool. If you click that, everything else is gone. So now you have your character. And I'm going to do something to show you how a tool works here in a second. So we're going to leave this like this, and we're going to go and close the window. Once we do that, your character is on your screen. So we click on the little spaceship, and we're going to add movement. And that is under behaviors. We click on behaviors, and we go to movements. And we are selecting 8 directions. Now, if you played the game or saw the game, you notice that the ship only moves up and down. And that is a modification of this behavior set. If we click play, we'll see how it works. You can click play on yours, and what you'll do is you'll see that your ship now moves around in 8 directions. Now, the trick is, why is he moving all squirrely to where it's not pointing in the direction that you want to go? Now, you fix that. The thing about Construct is it reads everything from right to left. So it assumes the front of your character is always facing to the right. I think that's just by default because so many people like to make side-scrolling type games. So when we put this in and it was facing upwards, it doesn't know that it's upwards. So we'll double-click on that, bring up this screen, and we're going to rotate our little ship. The other issue was, if you saw how wide it was swinging around in the animation or in the artwork, when we press play up here to try the game, you would see how it kind of swings around. It's not very smooth. And that is because the center to this little dot right here, that is actually the center. Even though we cropped it down, there's still remnants. It knows that this file is larger, and that center point is still in there. So what we want to do is this tool right here allows us to recenter our spaceship. And I'm going to put the center. You can put it right here in the middle. You can put it up at the front. The choice is yours. But once we do that, go back to play, our guy travels a little bit more smoothly. And I'm just using the arrow keys to move the ship around. Now for our guy, we only really wanted him to move in 2 directions. So over here on the left-hand side in the Properties tab, instead of going 8 directions, we just want him to go up and down. Once we change that, now our ship goes up and down, but it's changing the face of the direction. Normally this would be cool if you had a side scroller and you wanted your character to face the opposite direction. That's the default. But in this case, we don't. So we're going to tell Construct that we don't want the angle to be changed by the direction of the arrows. We want it to stay static. So now we have our ship is moving up and down, facing the right. And that is all it takes to get your character in and have it operating inside of its environment. Now we need an enemy. We need a danger that we're going to add to it. So we're going to double click on our field again and bring up, we're going to load in another sprite. And this sprite is going to be our asteroid. We're going to click here to open the files. Open up our game assets. We're going to open up our asteroid. Now this is what an animation looks like for Constructor for a lot of games. Each one of these pictures is a different frame in the animation. And we want all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and click Control A to select them all. You can also just drag and select them all. And we are going to drag those down into this panel down here. So these are all of our frames. And you notice the first one's blank. If you click on that and just hit delete, it'll go away. So here's our animation for our asteroid. We'll put that guy wherever we want him. Right now, let's put him right in the middle and take a look at what that animation looks like. So you can see it's just kind of orbiting itself, but it's not moving. To make this guy a threat to our ship, we want to add in another behavior. Over here on the left-hand side where behaviors are, we want the asteroid to move. So let's go back down here to movements and select bullet. Now bullets only go in one direction, and that is why they named that motion bullet. Let's go ahead and press play. And you see the asteroid kind of shot off the screen. everything defaults to the right with Construct. So all motion goes to the right. Now to change that, over here on the speed, and you'll notice this a lot in all different types of coding, we just want to change the direction. So if I put in -400, now it goes the direction I want it to go. But that asteroid is cooking. It's going super fast. So I want to slow them down a little bit. Maybe 200. There you go. But now he's crashing into our ship, but our ship's not doing anything. So what we'll do now is set up our collision. Now, the way collisions work is, I mean, it's pretty much the way it sounds. You know, you got two objects that have their own properties, and they are in contact with each other. Once that happens, you want to set up an event. Now, what that event is, it could be an animation. You can change the score. So say you're trying to collect rings if you're Sonic, and every single time you touch a ring, you want to add to your ring counter. Or if it's, in this case, an asteroid, you want to destroy that ship on collision, because the asteroid is dangerous. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our event sheet. The event sheet is the sort of master document for your game. It is the thing that controls or says or sets all your timers. It sets all of your events. Everything depends on your event sheet. So your sprite for your ship, let's see. Nope, let's do it for the asteroid. So if your asteroid comes in collision with another object, right here on collisions, and we're going to pick the object, is the ship. So now we have set an instance. So as soon as this sprite, the asteroid, and really I should name these. So if we want to go back to layout, just to make it easier, our ship, we'll name them ship. Our asteroid, we'll name them asteroid. In the event sheet, asteroids on collision with ship, we want to where are you? There it is. So let me go back, just because I clicked on the wrong thing. We're going to add an action, and it's really hard to see, but it's right here to the right. Add an action on the ship, which is the item that we're going to be affecting. We want to destroy right here. Now, if you notice, up here, I knew what I was looking for was called destroy. If you type that in, it narrows it down, makes it a little bit quicker sometimes. So we want to destroy that ship. So now what happens, if we go back to our layout and we click play, as soon as our asteroid hits our ship, the ship is gone. Now it's a little anticlimactic. It doesn't have any sound. It doesn't have any explosions, but we have sounds and explosions. So what we're going to do now is we are going to add in some sounds and explosions. Let's go to our sounds folder. We have these sounds right here, and we are going to drag them over here and to the right where it says sounds. Yeah. Let's see. Sometimes I'll let you drag it in. Today it's not letting me, so we're just going to import and drag them in to the next window. It goes through the encoding process and it's done. So now we have access to these two sounds. Let's do the same thing to music, so we don't have to go into that later. I'm right-clicking on that to get that menu to pop up. Go into music, and we're dragging in our space sounds. This sound loop is a little bit bigger, so it's taking just a few moments longer to. Now, the difference between sounds and music is music streams and sounds will preload. So when your game first loads up, it'll load all the sounds for the game. That way, when something happens, it's instantaneous. Whereas with the music, it has to load it and pull through it. And it's a memory resource purpose. It's so that you're not loading in a 4 meg music file, for your game versus it's streaming while it's just loading your sounds in the background. Now, in order to play a sound, you have to insert the sound function. This is how we add in the ability. Now, the audio is not an actual object. It's not like your asteroid or your ship. It's more of a dependency. It's a call that you are loading in so that your game knows how to play sounds. So now that we have the audio in there, and we can go back to our event sheet. Once we collide with the ship, we want to play an audio. And that audio is explosion. It's not looping. Volume is set to 0. And the way Construct does audio is the native volume that audio is at is the volume that it's going to play. You can make the sound softer by putting in a negative number, but you can't make it louder. So let's go back to our layout, press play. So now when the asteroid hits your ship, you should be hearing a explosion sound. But the explosion is not as fun as actually seeing an explosion. So let's do that. Let's add in another sprite right here. And in our folder of assets is our bubble explosion. Now, control click and select all the different frames of your animation and drag that group down here. Delete that first empty frame. And now we have, and this little button right here is how you test your animations. So this is what our explosion is going to look like. So now we have our animation. Now, the reason why we have this viewport area here showing what's on the screen is because, like with for example, a side scroller, you'd want to have all this information preloaded over here. So as your character is moving side to side, it's just basically sliding those graphics into frame. It's not building it as you're going, because that would really slow down and impact your game performance. So the way we're going to use it is we're just going to warehouse sort of our items here out of the viewport range, but still on the screen. Back to our event sheet. What we want to do is add another action. We want to take that sprite and we want to move him. We want to set the position of this animation to another object. And that object is our ship. So what we're doing is once that ship is destroyed, and I'm going to move this up so that it moves it first. And let's see. We want to move the explosion and then play the explosion sound. Okay. You'll see our explosions on the last frame. And the reason that is the animation, once we've loaded it, the animation started playing. So what we want to do is start the animation from the beginning. And the way we do that is come down here, start from beginning, now press play. So now we have a blown up ship on collision. All right, so we're about 30 minutes in, and we have a ship that we can move, that we can dodge. Our dangers, we put this in by moving him out of the way, and now he's alive, but we only had one asteroid, and that would be a pretty lame game. So what we want to do now is figure out how to make more asteroids. Now, with the asteroids, we don't need him actually in the screen. We really want him to start over here, but he doesn't have to be there from the beginning. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a spawn of the asteroids. So I'm going over my notes, so if I'm hemming and hawing, that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking at my notes. Now, the first thing we want to do is go to our event sheet. We want to create a new event, new system event, and then down here for every second, next, and I want to say every 2 seconds. We want to create an asteroid. Now, let me go back and double click on this. So it's asking for an image point. And what the image point is where on the screen you want this asteroid to be created. Now, we created our viewport as 900 pixels wide by 600 pixels tall. So if I put this in on layer 0, and then put the, you know what? No, let's cancel. I'm going to do this a different way. I want to add, we want to create an object. Sorry if I back you guys out. So go back. We can delete that. Create a new system event, and we're going to create an object. We're going to create an asteroid at layer 0, which is the layer that we're working on. And the position, the X position, I want it to appear right off screen. So since we're 900 pixels wide, I want this to appear at 925 pixels. So right off the right-hand side of the screen, and say right in the middle of the screen. If it's 600 pixels wide, I want it at 300 pixels. If we hit play to test, so now I have asteroids creating every 2 seconds in that one position. Now, that's not a lot of fun. What makes this a little bit more fun is if we can randomize where those asteroids are showing up. So let's get rid of 300 and type in the word random. And it'll load up by itself right here because that is a common tag inside of Construct. And we're going to set our range. Once we put this in, you'll see it's a range of random numbers to generate from 0 to 1 less than this value. Now, if I put it in at 0 to, say, 600, that is on the y-axis. So up and down, the 0 is the first pixel, 600 is the last pixel. We have asteroids coming in every 2 seconds in random positions. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. Now, the only downside to this, and it may not show this, is that eventually you're going to get asteroids that are going to come right here down the middle. And it's kind of a wasted asteroid, especially because we're going to be putting our score up here, and we don't want those asteroids to run across the score. And if you had some sort of counters, if you wanted to put some sort of weapon counter down here, you wouldn't want an asteroid hitting that either. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit and say I want my random numbers to begin, or my random asteroids to begin at, say, 25 pixels from the top. And then I'm going to subtract 25 from here, so 575. And that will keep our asteroids inside of our box. Now, one thing, when we started going here, you notice I can fly my ship right off the screen. And that's not handy. So to fix that guy, go back to our layout page, click him, and we want to, where is he? Give me a second.
While he's taking a quick look at that, how's everyone doing? You have explosions happening? Good stuff.
I don't have sound. That's the only thing. I missed the sound.
Oh, it's okay. Were you able to load it in? Do you have it in your folder down here?
Yeah, I have it in the folder.
Okay. Did you load in the audio tool?
I don't know.
Where? Oh, behind.
How do I do that?
Okay. If you double click on your viewport and scroll down, you will see, where is it? Excuse me.
Oh, for you, it won't show up. So go right to where it says input. Yeah. So what happens is you'll double click, you scroll down to where it says input, and there'll be an option there for audio. So if it's there, that means it's not loaded in your actual game.
You can also type in audio up here, and it'll be the only thing loaded.
All right. Yeah, I got it now.
Okay. So you add that to your game, and you should have sound now. As long as you did the other. Wait, you weren't able to.
Yeah, I just missed it. You kind of flew through it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So down here in your event sheets, you would just add an action. You're going to create an audio, and then you would select.
Okay, now that shows up, okay, I can figure it out from here.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
No problem. So inside of here, we're going to add another behavior. And we are going to bind it to the layout. And we are binding it to the edge. So that way, our character can never come and fly off the edge. And we're stuck. So there's no escape. Oh, there's an escape if you go down. I have to double check on that. Anyhow, but that's how that works. The next part is, so we have a, you know what, let's do something here. And yeah. Over here on the layer, let's click on that and change our background color to black. Get that out of the way. What's that?
For his last religion. He's in our hallway because we can go down.
There we go. There we go. So now we're starting to look a little bit more like the game we're shooting for.
How do we access the layer again?
Over here on the, if you just click on the layer number itself, you'll see it brings up the properties for the layer. All right. So now we have asteroids coming in. They're spawning every 2 seconds. We need to add the donuts. So let's double click on the screen, add in another sprite. This time, I'm going to open up our image files. And we are going to, it's called Space Station. That's what it actually is a space station, but I'm using it like a donut. And I want to resize it to be 25 pixels by 25 pixels. See, I should be okay.
How did you get to that?
Yeah, that's
The resizing?
too small. That is too small. It's this arrow right here.
Got it.
And let's make it 75. Oh, so I blurred it out. Let me go ahead and reload it. We will make it 75 by 75. And that should be okay. There's our space donut. Now, if you saw in the demo game, I actually have this guy rotating, which is pretty neat. So let's do that, add a behavior. Excuse me. And we want to rotate them. That's it. So if we play, and you'll see that. And that's something kind of neat about Construct is there's all of these little rotation, little animation things that you can do that make it so that you don't have to load in these long animations just to do something simple like that. The animation speed, I want to drop that down to maybe 75, maybe a little slower. There we go. That looks more spacey. And we want him to move, and we're going to do the exact same thing with the space donuts that we did with the asteroids. So we want to create, but I don't want the space donuts to come as fast. So we're going to create a different timer, every 5 seconds. We want the system to create a space donut. And we want to do the same thing where it is randomly generating them. So at 925, so that it's off the screen to the right. And then random, the same parameters, 25 pixels in and 575 pixels at the top end. Excuse me. And let's take a look at that. So there's our asteroids. Oh, but our space donuts not moving in. I can see them created, but they're not moving. So let's go back here. Remember how we made the asteroids? We gave it a movement of a bullet, and do the same thing. And we are going to do this negative. I think we did 200. Is that the speed? Because we want it to move left. That's why we're setting it at negative. Yep. Oh my goodness, how funny. He's going around. Let's see.
You do the negative on the bullets.
On the rotate, yeah.
Yeah.
You did it on the rotate instead.
That is too funny.
But that would be a fun game.
That would. All right. Let's make sure that's working correctly. No, it's still rotating. Well, that is funny.
It'll get there eventually.
It's going to be a wall of donuts.
You know what? So what it's doing is it is taking the angle, and we want to deselect set angle.
Yep.
There we go. So now we have space donuts. Now, this is where we are going to add in our score. This is where it becomes a game. So we want to just add in some text right up here. Say score. Oops. Let's call it score. Down here, we're going to stop doing that. Change this to score. We'll go ahead and keep the font. Let's make the score a gold color. And let's make it bold. Let's make it a little bigger. There we go. It's starting to look like a game. Let's get that in there. So what we want to do is every single time the donut hits the ship, we're going to add to our score. Now the way we do that, and there's lots of different ways to do this, guys. What if you wanted to set up two different text items here and create the number as its own, you could change just that number. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite the whole thing. And that'll make more sense here in a second. So on our event sheet, there's something called a tick. And what a tick is there's 60 ticks in a second. And this is sort of an internal counter for your game. So we are going to, inside of our system, go down to, where are you, ticks? On every tick, we want to take a look at our score, and we want to set the text. Where is it? So it's text. It knew what I wanted. Next. And the text we want it to do, we want it to rewrite the words inside the parenthesis or inside the quotes, score, if I can spell, score, and a space, then and score. Right here. Oh, but you know what? This will just cause it to loop. What we need to do is we need to set a counter because we're going to be rewriting the word score, putting in a space, and then putting in a variable. And we want to be able to update that. So let's cancel this and create a counter, a global variable. And we're going to create one called myScore. And it is a number. Initial value is 0. And that's all we got to do. So now we have this number. And back on that every tick, add action, go to score, set text to score space and my score. Oops. Come on. There you go. My score. So this is what you should have right here. Once this is done, when we click on play, we should see that is 0 because that variable is now being presented up in here. I'm going to turn my volume down because every time I play that animation, and we're going to get into, I don't know if you guys noticed this right here. When the ship hits and the animation plays, we get a little left over. Back here where we play that animation, we're going to set a timer, a delay. For 3 seconds, we want to destroy that animation. Excuse me. So now we probably could have set that to 2 seconds. All right. Yep, he's gone. So now let's start adding some stuff to the score. So when we got to add in our events for, hold on just a sec. Give me a sec. So what we want to do is set up our score for our sorry, Justine, could you take over for just a second? I want to get this set up
sure.
correctly.
All right. So is everyone up to this point? Are there any kind of questions or anything that I can help you out with? Are we all ready to eat some donuts?
Actually, I think I do need help with my audio.
Okay, with your audio? Okay, cool. So you kind of see on Tony's screen right here, you have your sprite on collision with ship, right? So you have that piece of code. So you're destroying the ship, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and then underneath it, do you have play explosion 1, not looping at volume 0 dB?
And then I have it set to ship. Am I not supposed to have it set to ship?
What do you mean by set to ship?
So I have play explosion 1 not looping at volume 0 dB at object. Am I not supposed to have an object set?
Oh yeah. So what you want to do is not pick the one where you're setting the audio with the object. You're just playing it. So here, let's see. When you add, so what you want to do is just double click that statement, the audio statement.
Yeah.
And then here, let me take a quick look at it. What you're gonna do is when you do your collision, you will, let's see. Here, actually, can you share your screen real quick?
Yeah. I can't share.
Oh, Tony, is it okay if I undo you for a second?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm ready to go as soon as you get this figured out.
Let's see. Can you just click on unshare? Sorry, Johnny.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. Okay, good. Carlos?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at this. Okay, all right. Oh, yeah, so double click that. All right, hit back. And then you just want to play. Let's keep going down.
That's it.
Let's see. Oh, there it is up top. There you go.
What's this one?
Yep. And then here you're going to pick that. Perfect. There you go.
Sweet.
Good. Okay.
And then the music. How's that supposed to start playing?
So that's just background music, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did Tony set that up already? Tony, did you talk to them about background music yet?
I have not loaded that yet.
Okay, cool. So he'll show you. But if you wanted to kind of do that, so you could just load it. There's a feature called on start of layout, and then you could dump it in there.
Okay, so just so I'm on board with everything, we only have one audio file right now, and that's just the explosion, right?
That is correct.
Okay. For some reason, I thought we went through like a couple more, and I was just falling behind.
We will have a couple more audio pieces to add in.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So here we go. What we were going to do now is start setting up our conditions for the space donuts. So what we're going to do is we already set up the creation here. So we're creating the donut every 5 seconds, but we want to set up what happens when the space interacts with it. So we want to create a new, new event for the sprite. And we want to say when it is on collision with another object, the ship, done. And this is where we're going to load in all of our shift actions. We want to see in the system. Now remember, our score is pulling from this global number, this my score equals zeros. So we want to, I think it is add to, yes, add 1 to my score. Did you guys catch that? Just some, no? Go back and do it again?
No, please.
No problem. So let's go ahead and delete that. So let's rename that. Has got into a bad habit. Let's call our donut. And in our event sheet, when our donut collides with our ship, we want to add 1 to the score. So since that is a system, it's a global variable, it's part of the system, we want to go down here to our global and local variables, and we want to add. We want to add 1 to my score, to this variable up here. So what we're doing is we're now creating a counter, and this comes into play because we're going to do this 2 more times. So we want to add 1 to my score. Let's go ahead and play just to make sure that that's working. And let's wait for a space donut and see if we can catch them. There we go. So we hit it, but it was a little soft because that guy just flies right over us. But it is keeping score. So congratulations, you're now keeping score. Now, the next thing we want to do is there has to be some sort of sound. There has to be some sort of event. There has to have something has to happen when you get the donut. It's got to be a little bit more exciting than that. So what I want to do is play a sound. And since we already loaded our sounds into our folder, it should be there. And I want to play and it's called lose sound, but it's actually our winning sound. So let's click done. Let's see what happens. Let's go space donuts. All right, there we are. All right. So we caught a space donut and it made a sound. Everybody getting sound from that?
No.
No?
I'm assuming it's because my Zoom call's taking all my audio or something.
Oh, that's entirely possible. The cool thing is I did create this entire game as a package that you can upload into the editor and look at all of the functions that we've set. And it'll be just like what we're doing here. And then this video is also going to be uploaded into our YouTube channel so you guys can take a look at that and see how we went about setting these up. But what I want to do with the donut is I want to slow it down and I want to make it look like we're capturing the donut. So the next thing I want to do is I want to set the speed. I want to slow them down. Let's see. No, it's a system. It's a system. We want to change the speed. What was it?
What are you looking for, Tony?
Want to.
You're talking about the game speed or the object?
No, the object speed, and it's a motion. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Sorry. So what we did, just to go back, we clicked on the donut because we're actually changing a behavior that we've applied to this object. We want to set the speed right here under, no, not rotate. Where's my bullet? Set speed. And we want to change it from, I think we had it set at 200. I want to set it to 50. Now when we hit it, it should slow down, almost like we're loading it up into the ship. There we go. But he's still flying over the top. So what I want to do is change what they call the Z elevation. So you'll run into this when you're in any kind of programming where you're dealing with multiple objects on a screen and you're trying to do animation, or you're trying to lay one box on top of another. You have your elevation variable, or your layer variable, or your Z variable. And what we want to do is make this guy go underneath the ship. Set Z elevation. And I want him to be at -1. Now what that does when he comes into contact, it actually goes underneath the ship. Now, as a bad example, what happened was my ship got clipped by one of the asteroids that was flying by. But as you saw, the donut went underneath the ship now, where it was flying over the top of the ship. There we go. And we will let that be. And every time we do that, it'll add to the score. Now to make the game more interesting. So we've set up the scoring, we've set up the dangers, we've set up the targets or our tokens or the coins or whatever it is that we want to collect in our game, in this case a donut. And we could do that forever, but because the game isn't that challenging, what makes it challenging is maybe if the asteroids were start coming in more quickly every time you got a donut, we could increase the speed of the asteroids or maybe increase how many asteroids were being produced at a time. So one way to do that is to create a spawn speed variable. So let's go ahead and create another global variable and call it spawn speed. It's a number, initial, let's see, let's set it to 1.2. Okay, just for fun. And instead of every 2 seconds, did you guys see what I did there? I changed the timer to now this variable. So it's going to spawn speed and it's going to pull that number. See how quickly they're coming? They're coming way faster than the 2 seconds they were before. So let's do that. And let's go ahead and change that number back to 2 seconds. That's it's not 20, 2 seconds. And what we want to do is every time we collect a donut, we want to, let's see, or yeah, every time we hit a donut, we want to add an action and we want to add to spawn speed. But what we're going to be doing is because we want it to actually, the spawn speed number to get smaller, we're going to add a negative number, 0.1. So now every time we catch a donut, the asteroids will come more quickly. And now I'm going to show you something that this system has that you will use in other development environments. And that is your debug. So the more I'm catching the donuts, the faster the asteroids will start to come. And they'll get faster and faster and faster. And the way we know this is because up here in the play that we've been pushing, one of them says debug. And what the debug does is it gives you all the variables down here, everything that we've been playing with. It counts how many asteroids are on the field, how many donuts, the score. Let's see. Down here is our spawn speed. Oh, and of course, I crashed before I could show that to you. Let's go back to debug again. So here's my spawn speed. Once I get my donut, my spawn speed decreases. That means the seconds in between the next spawn have decreased by 0.1 second. And it'll keep going until it gets smaller and smaller until you have one asteroid every second and then quicker until it becomes too difficult to pass. So we've just increased our difficulty by setting our spawn speed. Let's see, what's the next thing we could do? We could make the asteroids faster. So instead of spawning, let's make the asteroids faster. To do that is, let's see, we need to make another global variable. Let's make another one called speed. Just keep it at a number, initial value is 0. And actually, let's change the initial value to 200 because that's what we had before. Oops. All right, and we are going to change every. Oops. Let's see. Let's see. Every time an asteroid is created, let me kind of noodle this out for a sec. What do I want to do? We want to.
You could probably, after you create that asteroid,
Mm-hmm.
because it has a bullet effect, right? So you can change the speed of it right there based off of your speed variable if you want to.
I think. Let me take a step back. Is everybody caught up right now? Everybody's good? All right. Let's see. We want to, every time. What's that?
I mean, the issue with is having the donut start from the right of the screen. I think my numbers are wrong in the.
Oh, on the creation where we're spawning it right here. Create object the donut at layer 0 at 925 pixels to the right, and then a random number between 25 and 575.
Okay. Got it. Perfect.
So,
okay, thank you.
Let's see. What we are going to do is on collision with the ship, we want to add to, let's go back. There it is. I'm going to add to the speed. Let's say 50. Now, for the asteroid, we want to, let's go back to layout, set the speed. I am trying to remember exactly what that was. Oh, that was the rotate speed anyways. Let me see.
It's probably best, Tony, if you see where you say every spawn speed seconds on number 2.
Yeah. I think
right?
I need to add in the bullet. Yeah.
Yep.
And that is a...
click into Asteroid.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It was just, and it's the, there you go, set speed.
So the interesting thing about how you do this part, sorry, Tony, go ahead and double click back into that. What you really want to do, because remember that bullet effect, right? It's going in a negative number, right? So what you really want to do is subtract from the current speed based on this speed, right?
Correct.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
So what you do is add asteroid dot speed and then minus speed.
Oh, but I'm on collision. I'm gonna actually. I can.
Oh, I see. Oh, never mind. You're already doing it. Okay,
yeah.
Never mind. You're good. That's my fault.
So now when so every 2 seconds we are creating an asteroid. We're setting the speed of the asteroid. When the donut collides with the ship, we're making the asteroids go faster. Oh, but it's only setting the faster asteroid on the newest one that it creates. It's not setting... Oh, it's actually making them all slower. I had it right the first time. So what it's doing is it's only doing the newer speed on the newer asteroids. Make sure this guy's working. And I probably should have this in debug mode so that you guys can see it actually working. Let's go to debug. So now the speed's going to 250. You can see how much faster the asteroids are going. That's when it starts getting a little trickier. Now, ultimately, you have a functioning game at this point, but there's nothing that allows you to complete. As you saw at the end of the game, it goes black. So what you would like to do is to create a reset so that we don't have to keep closing out the game. Now, to do that, you got to have, excuse me, you have to have something called onload of start out, or on start of layout is what it is. And every time you start this layout, you want to make sure that all your variables are set back to the speeds that you want them at. So you want to set value to my score. We'll make sure that's set to 0. We want to make sure that our spawn speed is set back to 2. And make sure that our global speed is also set to 200. Then, when the asteroid collides with the ship and the game is over, we can wait for a few seconds. So that's actually at the end of the game. Sorry about that. Let's see. See. We want to. You know what? Let's go back to this layout. We want to bring up a title that says game over. We want to create a button that restarts the game. That's what we want to do. So we double click on it. We're going to add text back in and say game over. We'll call it game over. Down here, I want to make it nice and big. Oops. Make the font gold like the score. Make it bold. Let's really crank that guy up. Game over. Now, if we left that there, obviously it's going to show up. As soon as you hit play, you'll see game over. So initially, we'll want to make sure that this is not there when we load the game. But before we do that, let's add in our button. And in our button, we want, let's see, let's make them a little bit bigger. Yeah, that should work. So we want to add a behavior to it. And we want it to I'm not seeing it. Okay. Was I clicked on the button? I think I was. Oh, you know what? There's no, we'll do that in the event sheet. Excuse me. So on collision with the ship, we want to destroy the ship, set the position of the animation, and one of the things we want to do. So on the started layout, we talked about adding in that music in the background. This is where we would do it. Is we want to play our background through space noise. We want it looping, set the volume, whatever's comfortable to you. If you hit play, you should have background music now. There we go. And we want to make the game over text disappear. Is invisible and button visible. Now when we hit play, you should not hear, or you should not see the game over icon. But when the asteroid collides with the ship, we do want to see the game over button. And we do want to see the game over text. Let's see. There we go. So now we just got to make that button link out and reset our score. So down here, we want to create another event for our button. Next, on clicked, and we want it to restart layout right here. Now, if you wanted to use a button as a way to progress to the next level, this is where it'd be. Go to the next layout, go to the previous layout, all these different triggers to move your game through the different levels. For us, though, for this, because we only have a one-level game, we're just going to set this button up to do a restart layout. Now, let's give it a shot. All right. Now it loops. I'm dead. If I click it, the game starts over. Beautiful. And one of the last things I wanted to show you guys, if you'd noticed when we played the game, if you don't even have to come in contact with these asteroids. You just got to get kind of close to it. Let's see. See, the asteroid didn't even quite touch the ship. I'm going to show you exactly where to modify that. So over here in layout on our ship, built into this graphic is the collision detection. And that's what these little 3 dots are. And you'll see our collision border's way out here. And that's why you keep dying unnecessarily. So if we bring in these points, and it'll be a little bit of finessing. You'll have to kind of come in here and see what works for your game the best. You can add more points in, or you can take them out. Like there's a million over here. I don't really need that one. I just click on it, hit the delete button, and it's gone. Bring that guy over here. The guy here. And that should be fine. And you would do the same thing with the asteroid. That way the game is a little bit more fair. And to add in a new point, I'm double clicking on a point. It should be good. And do the same thing on the donut. All right. And that should make the game a little bit more fun to play, so you're not dying for no reason there. So the asteroids are starting to come faster. And there we go. We made contact, game over, start over. And there you go. You have a fully functioning game. Now, if you go back to our meetup page here, you will see that link to the GitHub. If you come here to where that link goes, you'll see this guy right here, this CodeStack space demo.c3p. C3p is the Construct3 format of their code. So when you go to menu and then project export, you can export this into a web game or a Facebook game or an Android game, Xbox game even. So when you create your games and you're ready to publish, you have a lot of different options available to you. That's what I meant by, this this seems very simple, very basic, but it does actually give you a lot of really neat tools, things that you can create and then export to Android. But in order, I think Android, you have to actually pay for a subscription to the service. Is that right, Jatine?
Yeah, you still have to. So for Android, it's kind of like a lifetime membership. So it's like $25, and you could publish onto the Play Store. So whereas if you did iOS, you would have to pay $100 a year every year to stay on the store.
Right. And excuse me, the link that we put in here where you can actually test the game, this one right here, you'll notice that there's one more thing that we did, and we're running out of time, so I didn't want to bog you guys down with too much, is we actually made it so that the game actually starts spawning more and more asteroids while you're playing. So in here, if I were to collect one of these donuts, it just keeps adding in more and more spawns. So you'll get more and more asteroids coming in all at the same time, and they're all getting faster. I think 13 is the highest score I've been able to get, because at that point, it just turns into a wall of asteroids. Yeah. I'll let you guys play that when you feel up to it. But the reason why we provided this is so that when you go into your construct environment, they give you the opportunity to upload a C3P file so that you can take a look at what was created, start tinkering around with changing some of the variables, changing speeds on things, see how we set up the duplication of the spawning and all that kind of stuff. When you create your own game, you can actually post it into the Construct Arcade, and that's what this is right here. And that's what we were just looking at. This is the Construct Arcade, or this is the Construct Arcade. You can go in here, and there's more games, and some of the games are like unreal. They're so good. Here's the Mario clone. I was playing this one. This one is as good as any other Flappy Bird type game that you can get. So there's a huge environment here. There's lots of people that are playing and creating these games, and the fact that you can export it from Construct into another format, be it for iPhone or for Android or anything like that, makes it really a lot of fun. So it's pretty legit as far as a game platform goes. So, I mean, you're really only limited by your creativity. All of the elements in that one game, the one we were just playing, the UFO one, what kept him up in the air was, I'm sure they had a variable called altitude, and that was his position, and it just went up every single time you touch the left mouse button, and then it set it back to 0 when you release the mouse button, and he drops back down to the ground. There's the collision with the stars, you create the backgrounds, but the as far as asset packs goes, there's lots of different options out there. Open game art, I think, is probably the most common. Are there any that you use, Jatine, on a regular basis?
I use here. I'll post it in the thing, but there's this one that's really good. It is called, or is it? I always have to look at it. GameArt2D.com. This one is it's really neat because there's a lot of good freebies and so forth, and it's all there's a whole royalty-free section. So if you click on freebies on the top, Tony, and the menu item, you're going to see, and this is actually perfect for Construct, right? Because you got all your sprite sheets, and you could just grab these, and they have a ton of cycles, right? And then if you keep scrolling down, you have a bunch of platforming tile sheets and so forth. and then they also give you a bunch of UI and all that. So that, and the thing is, like, there's a lot of places that do this kind of stuff. I like this to use as examples and so forth when you're just learning how it is, because they actually built it pretty good.
Yeah, and they're, for the robot one was actually kind of funny, because he has his running animations and his jumping, and then his little cannon animations, and then they're dead animations when he takes damage and he falls down. Some of them you got to pay for, but really the community's pretty vast, and there's a lot of people that really just provide these. So, I mean, Google's your friend. You can go out. There's maps. There's platforms. There's, just small graphics. Anything that you would need to build a game, it's out there for you. The mystery to these games is really just getting used to the tools and understanding what events are taking place in the background. And all of these functions in your event sheets, these are all standard programming concepts. When you're keeping global variables, when you're adding units to those variables, and you're pulling and you're referencing them in other places, these are all things that as you get better programming, all this stuff is going to look really, really similar to you. Your weightings, get when you're dealing with JavaScript, get prepared to look how when you're doing your asynchronous calls and you got to stall something out so that you can get a variable to load properly. I had the hardest time with that, making something wait until the code was propagating properly, and that way you're not overlapping and you're running the next function before the first function completes. So, I mean, all of these are fundamentals to programming. So it's all relevant stuff, but I hope you guys had fun. I hope that if you guys have any questions, by the way, we'll be hanging in here for like another 20 minutes or so. If your game's not working and you want to show me where maybe we can figure out how to get it working. But this is a good starting point. There are tutorials online that'll show you anything from how to make a side scroller in this environment using Construct3, but all different types of games. And it's part of it is, just kind of exploring it and letting your creativity kind of drive the interest. But it's also a lot of fun to, you come up with kind of a funny idea, and inside of this environment, because so many things are already created, kind of making a quick mock-up or a prototype of your game. Did somebody have a question? I thought I heard somebody speak. So if you guys have any questions, like I said, just kind of throw them out there. Jatine's reading the chat screen. If you want to turn on your microphone and ask, that's good too. Hopefully I can answer the question. If not, if you guys feel like you're ready to kind of dig into this and see what other things you can come up with, and you want to take off and get started on that, feel free. I know you guys probably skipped dinner to be here. So
just want to say thank you, Tony.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. If you have any questions, just hit us up in the Slack channel, or we will post in this our Slack channel the links to our YouTube page, which has all of these meetups that we do posted on the regular basis. So I hope you guys had a good time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. A lot of fun for sure.